Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Senior Director of Product Management for Magento Commerce, Rob Sweeney.
Good morning. Thanks for coming and joining us. I hope the folks that watched the match last night had a good time and you didn't get too hot in that event venue. So we're going to talk about Magento's one of Magento's newest offerings, Magento Commerce Order Management. My name is Rob Sweeney. I'm one of the folks responsible for the product management role around this product specifically. So if you have product management issues around the digital part of our platform, go see Paul. But anything around order management, I'd be glad to answer. What we're going to do is talk a little bit about order management, but this is really I want to start with talking through kind of the rationale behind why order management is important today. I was telling folks yesterday that I've been doing this pretty much my whole life. The one thing I know about is order management, inventory, warehousing, kind of supply chain stuff. And it's always been there. We've always needed it. Every business has always needed these things. But they were never really critical components of a lot of organizations. But today, order management really is in the heart of solving commerce and being best in class in a commerce environment. You really need more than just a web platform and a digital platform. It's more than just selling really well and marketing really well. It's really about working in this complex environment and doing that really well, because the big players out there have been working on trying to do this really well for a long time. So there are people coming after your business, coming into your markets that are very good at this, have a lot of resources. And what this is working in an environment now where it's not about selling from one channel and having kind of a straight line, simple business. I sell from my channel, I ship from my warehouse, I sell from my channel, I ship out of my plant. It's now selling from many channels, lots of different web stores, physical stores, call centers, but new channels, social media, maybe even emerging channels that we have to worry about that right now we're not. Things like machines ordering from us, the Internet of Things. So the channels are becoming much more complex. And quite frankly, the old way of fulfilling our customer needs are becoming much more complex. It's not simple enough to say, well, I keep my stuff in a warehouse, and no matter where I'm shipping to, I ship from that warehouse. I need to take advantage of the fulfillment network that's out there, and that's becoming more complex, giving you more options that you have to take advantage of. So it's not just fulfilling from your warehouse, but it might be fulfilling from your partners' warehouses, from third-party fulfillment sites, from all your stores. Wherever inventory exists in the supply chain, you should be able to fulfill an order from. So that's really the world we're working in. And that really puts a focus on order management now. So I've been doing this for a long time. 25 years ago, order management was kind of, make sure you do it right. Make sure the tax figure is right on it. Make sure it's accurate. Don't lose an order. But now it's really critical to the things that are happening out there. It's critical to the customer experience. So I kind of see like maybe four things happening out there that really put my product, my solution into the center of commerce now. The first is consumer expectations. Anyone have kids? Anyone have children? Do they shop differently than you shop? Mine do. I have four daughters. They're fashionistas. They have an expectation of what they can buy, when they can buy it, where they can get it, like I never would. I mean, they teach me something about how I can get a hold of not just fashion, because obviously I'm not the fashionista, but they teach me more about how I use the kind of the new commerce environment every day. They figure things out. And what I notice is once they find a site, once they find a company that they really like that experience from, they just don't understand or accept that they can't have that experience in any other way they operate and buy. So I think my 4 millennials are not unlike kind of the marketplace, where the marketplace is going. So consumer expectations have changed. It's really the last experience you had is your new expectation. That's your new kind of normal for what you expect from who you buy from. Emerging channels. So I talked about that a little bit. I don't think anyone in the room, if you're honest, expected or could have anticipated that we would be dealing with the world we are today. Orders would be coming from where they're coming today. Customers are interacting with us in so many different ways. Just a quick story to kind of go back. I go back a long way. I'm older than most in this room. The first time I worked with, even thought about how does the internet relate to what I do, was with a ERP company, and we specialized in ERP for process manufacturers. So chemical companies, food companies, alcoholic beverages, anyone that had a manufacturing process that was process-oriented versus discrete. Anything that involved mixing recipes and all that. And I was rebuilding, designing a new order management, supply chain, warehousing system for them. And we decided to look, the internet was just coming on board. I remember walking into the marketing department and talking to a colleague, and he was bragging about this, I'm just buying books one way from now on. He's showing me this thing on called Amazon, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. You don't buy books online. You got to go in and browse and read them. And then we went into a meeting. And we were brainstorming about what does this really mean to us? The internet. How do we have to change our products and our thinking? And I remember our head of strategy, a woman that was brilliant about the manufacturing process. She knew everything about how chemical companies work, how your food was produced, and how to provide technology to help people do that. And she basically said, this is ridiculous. No one's ever going to order our products. Our customers are never going to order product via the internet. They order batches and truckloads of product. They order things that get delivered through pipelines. They are never going to order product that way. You don't need to worry about this stuff. There's probably a play for this someplace else. I don't know what she's doing today, but if I ever run into her, I'm going to really have one big question. We missed the mark. And you think about that, she was convinced that it would never happen. And quite frankly, no one had a good reason to think otherwise. And now you think about the Internet of Things. So I'm sure in the chemical industry, there are sensors all over the world saying, you know what, we need to get more of that product here today. If you think about the beverage industry, I'm sure Coca-Cola is very focused on the Internet of Things and reorder capabilities from Coke machines and all that. The point is that these emerging channels, it took a long time to get to where that conversation was happening to today. But now, kind of the adoption of, if someone comes to me and said, I think orders will come in this way in 2 or 3 years, I don't think anyone should ever question it, because we really don't know where that customer touch point is going to be and how product and demand is going to get to us. And so that certainly puts challenges on you as to how you sell to people, how you market to them, but it puts a big challenge on how you prepare your back-end platform. And the back-end platform has to be ready to take on not those channels that are identified there. It has to handle all that, but then it's the next channel. So it's really time now to build a platform that at its heart is recognizing that the channels are going to constantly change and you need to be ready for it. And then where we come into our sweet spot around order management It's really about taking an order from any one of those channels and then figuring out what the hell do I do with it. Sorry, what do I do with that? And that gets into all these new fulfillment strategies. Again, just the pace of change. Even 6 years ago, I remember talking to many retailers in the U.S. and promoting the fact that we could help do things like we were doing things for them like pick up at store, click and collect. We were doing that with a lot of the big retailers. And everyone we talked to, we always offered that we could actually be shipping right out of your store. You could use your store as a warehouse. And everyone would laugh at that concept. Nobody would even think of doing that. The logistics folks had no interest in doing that. Within probably a 2-year period after that, after a few major retailers kind of bit the bullet and started doing that, literally everyone in the industry said, I need to do that. What caused that? Primarily Amazon announcing they were building billions of dollars worth of warehouses in every corner of the US and then the world. It was really realizing Amazon is going to move much closer to my customer, and everyone immediately changed their fulfillment strategy. I would bet that one fulfillment strategy of using ship from store will have just as fast a pace turning in a different direction. Because as much as it's very cool that, now I can use the inventory in my store to satisfy my online customer, better utilization of inventory, that's all good stuff. But if you've worked around the supply chain for any amount of time, whatever fulfillment and supply chain strategy is best in class today will change in 3 or 4 years. So all these new fulfillment strategies, you have to react to them because they're there for a reason. It's not the supply chain guy saying we can get better ROI on our inventory that's changing it. It's really that expectation of the consumer that's causing these new strategies to come into place. The one thing for sure is they'll change. New things will develop. Things that work in Europe will become important in the States. Things that work in the States will become important in other geographies. So that's always going to be changing. And then, lastly, how do I get product more quickly to the end consumer? To me, it's almost amazing that I get ticked off now if I get on a site and I can't get something in 2 days. I think probably others are sitting back saying, "No, why can't I get it tomorrow?" But nobody has an expectation. When you used to order things, 7 days was normal, 5 to 7 days. No one had that was not a bad service, but that's days are coming out of the picture that might not be relevant. It's going to be hours and minutes for some things. So immediate delivery. So those are all the things that I think make the case for why order management's important today, more important than it ever has been, and why it's really critical to bring modern order management capability into the marketplace that Magento serves. A lot of these things have been put in place with the big retailers. Amazon has invested in building out these infrastructures for 15 years now. So the big players have been doing this. They prove it works. And I think for a long time everyone accepted, but we don't have to behave that way. But you do. You do have to have that same set of tools in order to work against those large players. So I guess I'll just do a advertisement here. I'm going to talk a little bit about Fraport a little bit later. This slide was left in unexpectedly. The next order management session we're going to go through, we're going to show you two videos of different customer case studies, and we're going to have participants that implemented those solutions speaking and doing a Q&A. That's at 11 o'clock. I know. 1:45, but otherwise this was just a slide that was not supposed to be in there. So talk a little bit about order management itself. So what is it? It's a modular cloud-based platform, so that's a little different than what you traditionally think of Magento products. It's not an open source product. We run this solely in our cloud environment. We think there's a real advantage for you in doing that, and that this is really all about having an infrastructure that's in place, that's consistent, that you can flex kind of the back end and the front end and not worry about the day-to-day operations of that. What does it do? Very simple. It manages inventory, manages orders, and it manages shipments or fulfillment processes. That's really kind of the core of what it does. And then it gives you a command and control over those processes to manage, to make sure that your logistics process is smooth and running, to make sure your payment process is smooth and running, and really help you provide a very frictionless process from the point of buying to fulfillment. What's it look like? Pretty much these components. So the idea here is one, on the left-hand side of that screen, is to depict that it's designed from the start to work with any channel. So it integrates with Magento and any web stores that you create through that, but it's designed to be agnostic to any channel and designed to work with new and emerging channels. So in the go-forward position, a lot of companies aren't ever going to have a single set of channels or a single set of technologies that are dealing with their customer touch points. So we work with all of those, and we can hook to any fulfillment point. And in some cases, we provide the full fulfillment process capabilities. In other cases, we're just integrating out to fulfillment locations. It's made up of 4 modules, something called distributed order management. How do we manage the order, orchestrate the order through its process? Global inventory. How do we have a view of inventory globally in all my locations, whether it's my own owned inventory, whether it's partners' inventory, it's inventory in my stores, in my warehouses, inventory in transit, a complete view of that, and then all the rule sets to help you manage that inventory, make promises against that inventory. The 4th component is omnichannel fulfillment. So that's the component where we manage that customer expectation when I need to pick something up in a location that might not be a warehouse. So it manages really the fulfillment processes that aren't your warehouses. So in-store pickup, shipping from stores, if you're doing anything like location access points, Amazon, pickup locations, pickup lockers, things like that. All those fulfillment processes that don't typically fit into what you would think is happening in a warehousing facility. And then the last component is customer service. So the tools to manage those orders and more importantly, to monitor that those orders are processing properly and identify exceptions in the process and all that. So we'll come back and talk in more detail about this as we go through. With this solution, there is also a completely kind of embedded analytics package, because if you're going to start using all these different methods of taking orders from any location and shipping from any location, you really need to be able to analyze that very, very, very closely. So you don't want to be shipping from the wrong locations that are costing you more money than you need. So an analytics package should be considered kind of best in class. It has to be closely coupled with your order management solution, because it's really about analyzing and understanding what's going on in your fulfillment processes. Are you doing it well or not well? Are you doing it cost effectively, not cost effectively? And also with this is a complete payments and fraud service capability. So kind of out of our heritage from eBay Enterprise, we've always run, in the past, we always ran a variety of different order management solutions for commerce providers, and we found our differentiator in the marketplace. What we could do for all of you is actually with that manage the payments and risk management around that. So we have a unique offering that we can talk about a little bit later, where we basically take on the liability of any fraudulent orders that go through there. So we're managing all that for you, and I can take that out of your off your hands. And then lastly, order management systems are really like a big brain that has synapse connecting to all the different things. So it's really any time you talk about order management and you don't talk about integration capability, you're really not talking about order management. Order management systems have to easily integrate to a lot of different things. You have unique things in your process from the time you take an order to the time you ship it that may require linking out, integrating to other systems, to other processes in order to satisfy that. So we provide you a capability through an integration layer that allows you to, easy is a bad term to use when you talk about integration, but it's meant to ease the capability and give you flexibility in how you integrate, when you integrate, and actually flex that integration capability as your business changes. First and foremost, it's the driver that allows us to connect to any selling channel and to any fulfillment channel. So that's kind of the scope of the product. We'll go back and spend a little bit more time talking about the details of all that. But first I wanted to talk about some customers that are using the product today and then take you through some typical use cases. And I think these are the use cases that best represent what our product does really well for you in this omnichannel experience. So a lot of you this might be the first time you've heard anything about us having an order management product. It's new to the organization, but it's not brand new. We started actually building the application, the solution, back in about 24 months ago. So the product's been implemented for our initial customers for about 24 months. So the good news is it may be new to you, but it's not new to us. So we've actually had quite a bit of experience rolling this out with customers, really proving its capability, its scalability, its flexibility. So these are examples of those customers. You'll see there's a mix of companies, which is always a good sign when you look at an order management solution, is can it work for me? Well, the best sign is does it work for different types of merchants? So what you'll see up here are a lot of branded manufacturers, companies like iRobot, Dyson. You'll see nice retail brands, Holly Hansen, Taus. You'll see some innovators, company like Fraport, which is the Frankfurt airport, and we're managing all the omni-channel capabilities within Fraport. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And you'll see big companies and small. And so I think that really talks to what we're building to. We're really building for all of you. We're not building for Walmart and Amazon. We're building for companies that have revenue in the ranges that you all work in, volumes that you all work in, and we're proving that out. A couple of quick examples. Our most recent customer to sign on is a company called Cal Ranch. I love this as an example because they're a kind of a medium-sized retailer, maybe a small retailer. They only have 25 stores. Their stores are in the Idaho Midwest region of the U.S. And they're just what they say. They're California Ranch is the name of the organization. They're a ranch store. They sell to ranches, and they sell anything a ranch you need to operate a ranch or a farm. So when we first met with them, I was interested. Well, you've got 25 stores. Their online revenues aren't that big yet. Why are you doing this? And they basically said, they explained what they sold, and they said pretty much everything we sell, except for livestock, which they sell, things like live bees, if you're a beehiver, everything except for livestock, you can order, a rancher can just order off Amazon today. And that kind of stuck in my head. Well, that's good. That's a good sign that you're thinking, you're preparing now for Amazon coming into your market. Later on, I tested that out. I got online and brought up their website and looking at their product categories and brought up Amazon and said, okay, find this. Yeah. You can buy gun safes on Amazon. You can buy barbed wire on Amazon. And I went through the whole list, and they have a big catalog. You need a lot of different stuff to operate a ranch. Literally everything that they sell, you can now buy on Amazon. And they're sitting there saying, now we need to deal with this. 3 years ago, they didn't feel that was a threat. It's a huge threat now. So, and I think that's pretty typical of a customer. So that's our latest customer. Devlin, another fairly new customer, and we'll talk about them in a little bit, large optical retailer. So Cal Ranch has 25 stores. Devlin is an optical retailer in Mexico. They have 1,100 stores. So just to speak to kind of the scalability of the product, who can use this product, really, we think the whole Magento marketplace can use this product. So there's a few examples of the customers. Now, we'll talk about some of those in a little more detail as we go through this. Talk a few, what I see as kind of the typical use cases as to, if you're trying to do any of this, I think at the heart of it, you'll be able to do all of these use cases much more easily with a modern order management system. So the first use case is fulfill from anywhere. I need to use my inventory wherever it may be, and I don't want to lose a sale because of that. So the use case is simply this. I need to fulfill from anywhere. No matter where that order came from, no matter where the demand is, I need to be able to use all of my inventory resources to do that. Fulfill from my store, fulfill from any warehouse, fulfill from a drop ship vendor, maybe from a manufacturer. So one example, Devlin, I just mentioned them, 1,100 stores. If you go into an optical store, they have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 different frames in there to choose from. But their catalogs are 20 times that, 100 times, they're huge. So the options for frameware is just tremendous. But their stores don't have any inventory. And this isn't just Devlin, this is the industry in general. They might have kind of any given frame, 1 to 3 frames in there. So there's a strong likelihood that when you get in there, you're going to find the glasses you like, but it's, you know what, it's just not quite the right size, but they have another one that's got a little bigger, and that one's not in the store. And that's basically the problem they're trying to solve, is let me take an order from the store, and if I don't have it in that store, let me search the store, find it, and get that shipped from another store to fulfill that order. So that's what they were looking to do. What you need to do that, you need a strong inventory model, multi-node inventory, the capability to track inventory wherever it is, the ability to not just track inventory, but actually then do real-time decisioning against that inventory, so that when you ask the question, when the channel says, well, I don't have it in my store, I don't have it on my, in my warehouse, wherever it is, that you can get a real-time answer to say, here it is, specifically here's where you can find that inventory, or more generally, just a real-time decision to say, don't worry about it, you can promise that. We know you can promise that because we see the inventory in the network and you can commit to that item. So multi-node inventory, real-time inventory decisioning and promising. And then once you take that order, or perhaps in some cases as you're taking that order, real-time sourcing to say, I promised it to you, I'm going to get you that really cool frame, the orange Magento frame, but now that I've promised it to you, I really in the back end need to start making a smart decision, because that orange frame is actually in my 1,000 stores in Devlin's example, might be in 300 of them. So it's not an easy decision then to say, now what's the best place to pick that from? So the sourcing capability of a product is really going to become critical. How do I make the best decision, balancing things like cost, balancing it with customer expectation, what's the service commitment you made to them, what's the availability, and maybe most importantly, what's the consequence of taking inventory from one of those locations? So I don't want to make a decision that I'll ship it from the location closest to my customer if in that location they're selling orange Magento glasses like hotcakes. I'll leave it there, so it's not always the closest or the least costly. decision. It's sometimes just, I need to balance all of those things. What are the things I'm trying to achieve? And then you need a order management system that can flex with all of those decisions and then orchestrate the successful fulfillment of that. And as a quick example of what we do for Devlin, so I found the lenses for you. I found the best store to ship them from, but guess what? Frames aren't very useful. It's the lens that's important. So we have to orchestrate finding the right store to fulfill that order from, and then orchestrating to get it from the store to the right lab where the lenses are going to be ground and fit, and then getting it to the customer, whether they're going to come and pick it up, which in the optical business is in Mexico is the norm, but also, you know, am I going to ship it to their home? Am I going to ship it to their local store? And all of that. So it's the orchestration of that. And so that's really what leads to really driving a great customer experience. And the end result is, if you have this capability, you can have a big effect on sales. You can have effect on online sales because you're not turning customers down when you actually have product that you didn't think you had, using a much broader range. You can drive in-store sales if you have physical stores. And maybe, you know, the fastest payback is you can increase your inventory performance. With tools like this, if I have the ability to source from anywhere, that also means I can start using the inventory that's affecting my inventory performance first. So slow movers, items I'm about to mark down, moving that inventory quickly. So that's the first case that I love to see and help folks solve. Maybe the first thing we did with our customer base, our early customer base, is solve this problem: global commerce. So we have a lot of branded manufacturers using this product, and their basic story was, I have an online presence in certain markets, and I maybe do that well. I need to expand that presence globally, and I need to do it quickly. I need to do it consistently. And actually, Brown-Forman, again, at the later session, we're going to have folks from Brown-Forman, both the e-commerce manager that led the project, as well as the IT partner that helped them do that. They're going to be speaking later. You might have seen a video if you were at the opening session. It's a really cool story, and that's really what they were trying to do. You know, they had a really well-known brand. They had never really done commerce before from a transactional standpoint of shipping to the end consumer. And they knew that back-end process wasn't really easy for them, but they also knew that they had to make sure it was a great experience when someone did that. So that's why they selected our product. And these are the types of things you really need to think about in that environment. Is one, can it handle one-to-end channels? So it is agnostic to how many channels and what the channels are out there. So obviously, we integrate seamlessly with Magento, but in one market, maybe I'm using a different front end. So how do I hook to all those channels? But more importantly, can I have an unlimited number of web stores hooking into this, and can we make sense of those orders as they come through? As I do global rollouts, it's difficult to figure out payments, processes, regulations, and all that in all those different geographies. We can help with that. We can take that off your list of worries as you roll out globally. Intelligent sourcing, again, anything around order management is always going to come back to order management. Really is not about order management. It's not about orders. It's most importantly about inventory and making really smart decisions about that inventory. So in a global environment, that's more difficult to do. If from one country, I may be able to ship from a particular warehouse, but if I'm across a different border, I have to use different fulfillment locations, different delivery methods, and all that. So it really comes into play in these global rollouts. And then obviously the whole concept of one-to-end fulfillment nodes. In a global rollout, you're probably going to be linking to a lot of different fulfillment locations and centers, and typically probably not things that you control. So you really want a solution that is very good at hooking to any type of a warehousing system. Because as you go globally, you're going to end up working with a lot of third-party logistics providers, and you need to be able to link into them and use their services. And we do that really well, and that's a lot about kind of the flexibility and adaptability of our integration layer. And then global support. If you're going to roll out globally, it's expensive, particularly if your volumes are ramping up slowly in those markets. You need someone kind of watching over the funnel as those orders flow through, and we provide you all of that. And so my challenge was I was going to try not to put on any slide omni-channel, because just because I thought I'd try that. You know, everyone talks about omni-channel, but at the heart, omni-channel is really what it's all about. It's really important, and that's really what this is driving towards. You know, omni-channel really is, I think it is evolving. It used to be, I want to provide a lot of options for my customers. I want to provide the option to pick up at the store. That might get me more store traffic. I want to draw the option to use all my inventory, so I'm going to ship them from my store. I don't think it's options that we want to provide anymore. I think it's actually what the customer wants. They're going to tell you exactly how they're going to buy from you, and they're going to tell you exactly where and when and how they want to pick it up or have it delivered to you. So omni-channel, I think, is really will morph into, you know, customer-driven fulfillment. So this is really, how do I use my inventory networks to fulfill the need of a customer and really change the experience I can provide to the customer? So this was going to be the slide that was going to be really easy to talk to, because I was going to show you a really cool video about Fraport, but that's going to be in the next session now. So, but I'll steal all the thunder around Fraport. So has anyone traveled through the Frankfurt airport? Bunch of Europeans here. You must have gone through that airport. It's massive. Big transit airport, one of the largest airports in the world. They had a really unique vision, which was, what is a really big airport? A really big airport is really just a really big mall, right? So it's, you come into it, you park, you go in, what's there? Stores, restaurants. It's a big mall. And so they're thinking, well, we should be affecting the shopping experience in our big mall, and really in doing that, they have a vision for really changing a traveler's experience. And so the idea is whether you're a local business traveler coming in and out of Fraport every week on your business trips, or you're an international traveler transiting through Fraport to some faraway land, very different travelers, very different types of things they're doing and buying. But they want to build an experience, both a selling experience through Magento and a delivery and service experience through Magento Commerce Order Management that allows them really to do all of what you typically would think about doing at a local retailer. Things like pick up at the store, so pick up at the shop, pick up at the gate, reserve it at the gate. Ship from the airport to my home. So I saw something I really like. I'm traveling for a week. I don't really want to shop that through customs 2 different times. So just order it in the airport while you're looking at it. Have it shipped home. Pick up anywhere in the airport. So I know what I want. I don't have time in my travels to get across to another terminal. Have it delivered to me and the like. So they've really taken it to a different level. So you should listen to that introduction this afternoon. But what they're really doing is they're really just using omni-channel techniques and capabilities to provide the customer's desired fulfillment experience. Again, this starts to sound a little, what do you need to do that? You need multi-node inventory. You need to know where inventory is. And imagine that in an airport where you've got 20 different merchants in there, and you're providing this for all those merchants. Intelligent sourcing. Someone orders something. Which store do I go to? It's not unlike what you have to do in any other environment. Well, what gate are they coming into? What gate are they flying out of? What's the closest location? Is that the best location to pick it? So intelligent sourcing capability. And then store fulfillment capability. If you want a good experience and you want to offer these types of services, you really have to do it well. Nothing is going to kill your customer faster than Well, you told me I could pick it up on that street, and it's not there. So you have to be able to execute really well. So store fulfillment is really about managing that whole process. Once you've made that commitment, once you've started that on that fulfillment path, are you monitoring that to make sure it was executed properly? I sent you the order because I thought you had inventory. If you didn't pick it for the customer, I need to know that. I need to know that within 15 minutes so you can notify me, and I'll redirect that and find a different way to solve that problem for a customer. So the store fulfillment capability is really critical. We've built that out really as Fraport is one of our use cases. So you can imagine this has a lot of flexibility because that's a very complex organization, because now I'm not just asking different locations to fulfill and meet my customer's expectation, but I'm asking different locations with many different merchants involved in doing that. So a lot of monitoring of all that capability. And then the last piece is you need tools that guide the store associates or the airport associates or whoever is doing that picking process for the end consumer to guide them through that process. So tools that allow them to efficiently go off and participate in this process without interrupting their kind of day job of servicing customers that might be walking through the store and all that. So we provide all those components to drive this use case as well. So well, we'll save the questions for the end. So we're gonna wrap on this and really just talking about kind of this is where we get into the real product stuff. I'm just gonna kind of go through, give you a little feel for the details of the product itself. So back to our little map of order management. I'll just kind of step through this. We talked a little bit about it. The core components are these four blocks. Distributed order management. So think of that as all kind of the typical things you need to manage an order. Do you handle back orders? Do you handle pre-orders? What do you do when can you decompose an order into multiple parts and source it to different facilities? So the distributed order management function is really kind of the core capability of how do I orchestrate the order through the process and how do I manage kind of typical exceptions. The heart of it, and the thing we'll spend a little bit more time after this talking about, is global inventory. So global inventory, one is being able to track inventory anywhere. It's this kind of concept of a multi-node capability. Track inventory at any node, regardless of the type. Track in-transit inventory. But the kind of the secret sauce within all this is intelligent sourcing and allocation capability. So that's really kind of where we're focused on, is how do we continue to build out a set of rule sets that allow you the flexibility to make different types of sourcing decisions to solve different types of business priorities as you go through your evolution of servicing your customer. Your sourcing decisions are going to change because your customers' expectations are going to change. Your sourcing decisions will change because your market changes. All of a sudden, the profile of where your inventory will start to change over time. You need to be able to adjust your sourcing to match all that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then the omni-channel fulfillment capability. So ship from store, store pickup, click and collect, ship to store, and these all take different. I don't know. So like click and collect is a big term here in the UK. It's used more than in the States. Most of these things, they're kind of, people have different definitions of them. But all these processes are really kind of, this component of the product is really just the ability to manage whoever's doing that work to make sure that they pick the right product at the right time. That if it needs to be packaged, it's packed properly. If it needs to be shipped, we understand how to ship it, how to label it. So it's really about a component of things that you can do to execute a pick, pack, either ship or pickup process, and kind of what you call it and exactly the flow it works in will often vary depending on your situation. So those are really the three things it does. And then at the heart of that is then customer service, which is really just the idea of you need one single point of truth around an order, around inventory, and around shipment. So your single point of truth shouldn't be in the different channels, because then you can't tell the customer anything if they ordered from you from multiple channels. And around inventory, it shouldn't be looking at individual inventory locations. You can never get that. You need one place where you aggregate all that information, rationalize it into a way that someone can give a consistent, quick answer to a customer and then take actions for those customers. And that's the customer service module. And quite frankly, our strategy around customer service is really to make this a big, massive, very functional API that you can perhaps be calling that customer service function from any other tool. Because where are you going to do customer service? If you believe that the customer is going to drive, their expectations are going to drive how we behave, you're going to do customer service where they want it. So it might not always be in a call center. It's unlikely to be in a call center. Some of it will be self-service. Some of it will be, if I'm a store associate, I should be able to answer and help you and do customer service on an order you ordered online. So customer service is going to happen from many different touch points, maybe as many different touch points as your channels that exist. I mean, I could see the Internet of Things, some little machine out there doing customer service inquiries like, I was supposed to get my new refrigerator filter plugged in today, it hasn't shown up. Well, the first thing I should do is ping and see if it was delivered. And so why wouldn't, if machines and things are going to give us demand, give us orders, I think those machines and things are going to be requiring customer service, and it's not going to be through a person. It's going to be, give me an answer. Has this shipped on time? It's critical I have my new filter today, and has it been shipped? So we think that idea of exposing it through an API is really critical. It, of course, has accompanying UIs that you can go in and do human type things with as well. So I want to go a little bit deeper on one thing, because I think the key to all this is sourcing. And in one context, you can put sourcing in a, it's really just all about inventory. But think of sourcing as being, it's the process that I'm first committing, can I provide the product they're ordering? But it has to start to then take into a lot of other, kind of a lot of the other things that surround your order management process. So sourcing starts to take into account carrier decisions. It takes into account merchandising decisions. Do I have old product I want to get rid of? Do I have slow movers? Am I going to close the store? So a lot of things come into play. This is basically the process. So the first part of this is reserving stock for an order. And so this is that whole kind of real-time, how do I get out there and make a commitment to an order? And in some cases, I have to make a very specific commitment. If you want to pick up a product in a location, I need to make sure I can commit that inventory to you in that location or commit to getting it to you in that location. So that's kind of a real-time, I've got to commit a specific product or product in quantity in a specific location. But a lot of orders, I just really need to commit to you, oh, you want to pick it up at this location on this day, you want it shipped to this location on this day. I just need to commit that in the network, I can meet that. I can make the bet that I can meet your request. So we really handle both forms of that. And in most cases, all you're doing in that front end is you really just want the answer that you can meet this request today, and we can give that to you in real time. And the reason you don't want to make specific commitments is you really want to take all those orders in and get enough of a pool of orders so that you can start to optimize the work that you have. So using inventory is really about optimize. So it's best done in batch, not in batch, but in big pools. I guess it's the same thing. So it's really about now I've got a group of work, and now I want to optimize across all that, because now I realize I'm actually shipping, I need to find 50 of the same item. So what's the best way to find 50 of those? So the decisions and your opportunity to make better decisions, better use of your inventory starts to change pretty dramatically when you can look at this in more of a kind of an optimization issue across a big group of things. So that's what we do, is we bring those orders in. We know we've made the commitments about date and time, delivery locations, all that. We bring those orders in, and then we allow you to set up rules as to when you should really look at those and spin off that optimization logic to make the final decision about how you're going to fulfill that. And when we do that, we trigger off basically a rules-based sourcing process. So this is, you can't go off and say, we can't go off and hard code a sourcing program for you and that will work. It always has to be very dynamic. We need to allow you to kind of change what the variables are, because if you want to optimize against something, what's optimal today is not likely to be optimal tomorrow. So we give you the ability to go in and set up those rules, and they might be the right profile that you want to use today, because today is the beginning of my holiday season, but they're not likely to be the same rules at the end of your holiday season. So go in and manipulate those rules, change the variables that are going to drive decisions. And then lastly, the orders get sent off to fulfillment. And the key to this was, one, we've talked a lot about you need to be able to send it to anywhere, any type of fulfillment location, all that. But the real key here is when you're making all these sourcing decisions, in a lot of cases, particularly when now we're looking at lots of different locations, maybe with very low levels of inventory, I need to make sure that this is a system that is going to verify that the commitment we just made is going to be met. So when I send it to you to a location that's a remote store, that's convenient, that's the best place to ship from, I need to make sure you're going to actually ship it, because someone might have just walked in and bought that. So this part of the process is really about how well can you constantly manage what's going on and catch all those exceptions, because the exceptions are things that need to be dealt with. So if I can't ship it from that store, you've only got 2 hours to commit to me, you can, otherwise I'm going to pull it back and I'm going to redirect that to another store. I'm going to send it back through the process, put it back in the pool and say, find a better store, forget store A because they just told me they can't ship. So that's a bit about the storing, the sourcing process. This is kind of what that, as we expose rules, we have this concept of basically, you'll have cards set up there where you lay out what your priorities are for the day. You'll set a timing on that. The whole intent here is these sourcing rules shouldn't be meant for a rocket scientist. You shouldn't have to call in your consultants to say, I want to ship differently next week. You should be able to do this, configure this, because you're an expert in your business, you're an expert in operationally how your business works. So it's really designed for an operational team, not a technical team, not a consulting team, more importantly. There are a lot of products out in the marketplace that do this really, really well. I helped build one of those. IBM has a great solution for doing this. It probably takes someone weeks of setup and weeks of testing before they can actually make a significant change in how that sourcing logic works. It's very sophisticated, but very complex. And what we're delivering to you is something that gives you that sophistication, that ability to truly make optimal decisions, but exposing the rules in a very user-friendly way. And when we do all that sourcing, and we're doing all this, we have the ability to actually come out of that with a lot of insights as to what's happening in your operation. And so this is a prototype screen, but I thought I'd put it up there. I thought it showed a good example of kind of our vision of what we're doing. So as you're setting up those rules, you should be able to see things like, well, how am I operating today? So how many splits are one of the rules you can set is a maximum number of splits. I don't want to split an order more than twice. If that sourcing decision causes that to happen, go out and try to source it differently. So this can, we can be showing you kind of what's your result today. So before you just make a random decision, I need to change something, you should be also doing that in context of what's happening in my operation today. So that's one of the concepts we're bringing into the product, and this is just another kind of visualization of that. So the map on the bottom might be a little overkill. I don't think anyone really looks at their supply chains that globally. But the point is, we can give you a lot of insight into what's actually happening. Where are my orders generally being sourced, and does that really make sense? If you all of a sudden saw a big blip in an area that you only have a remote store, that might be problematic, and you can address it. So we believe that if you're going to meet your customers' expectations, we need to give you a lot of tools to really manage kind of in real time, give you insight into what's really happening. It's not about what's going well, it's about identifying things that aren't necessarily going so well. So just some quick looks into kind of where we're going with using all this data. So that was all I wanted to cover today. We finished a little bit early, but that was intentional. Well, I wanted to finish it in an hour. We finished 5 minutes early. That's the time that my video would have played. So I really encourage you to go see the Fraport video. But it was intentional to end early because when we've done these sessions in the past, we've had a lot of questions. So I would encourage you to ask any question. I can probably answer 50% of them, and we'll find you answers for the other 50%. But go on.
Hi, thanks. Firstly, this sounds really interesting, what you've been working on. But you've talked a lot about the integrations between the channels and then the integrations into the fulfillment. But I'm interested in how you integrate into those back office systems like purchasing, accounting, and kind of cost price versus revenue so that you can kind of monitor profitability.
Yeah, great question. And when we talked about that integration layer, I did focus on kind of the core, getting any channel to any node. But there are integration points so that you can link into your ERP to do financial updates. There's capabilities, so if you didn't use our analytics and you wanted to push this stuff into a data warehouse for sales analysis and things like that, you can do all that. So it's all of kind of the standard integration points, whether it's to ERP systems, payment systems, CRM systems, all there, standard. Yep.
My name is Vipin Sahu. I'm from Webcool Software in India. A great product about the order management. The question is about the drop ship part. The drop shipping, if you're using drop shipping method in the order fulfillment, then can we integrate the custom shipping methods as well?
So if you already had a drop ship program and capability in place, you could integrate that into that if that's the question. So I'll talk a little. So drop shipping is a big part of kind of moving to this concept of inventory anywhere, satisfying the customer. It's kind of the gateway drug into omni-channel, right? Once you start that, you realize there's all sorts of so we can provide that capability to source something off to a drop shipper. Managing the relationship with the drop shipper, we haven't built that capability yet. We typically we think there are a lot of best-of-breed solutions out in the marketplace, particularly in the Magento marketplace, where you can plug into those. Because there's a really big difference if you're drop shipping. If you had 5 strategic vendors where you have drop ship programs, I think you can do it right through the order management solution and manage that. But if you have a broad mix, you have 500 vendors and you're rotating through those all the time, then I think you really want a solution to manage each of those vendors and the connection points with them.
Exactly.
So did that answer?
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, I did a really good job. Answered every question. Come on, there's got to be something out there.
Hi. So a lot of the solution partners in the Magento ecosystem are used to being able to have obviously full access to the code when they're integrating and implementing this solution. This is obviously something slightly different. To what extent is there a services opportunity around this, and what training and documentation are available for partners?
Yeah, so really good question. So it is different, right? Because it's not an open source product. We're not handing you the source code to do what you typically would do in a Magento environment. So it really gets to that. And there is a session later at the same time as the kind of business-oriented use case session. There's also a session we're doing on integrating to COM. And that integration layer is really intended to be a platform from which not just to integrate system to system, but for that's where you would actually could plug in value-added extensions and enhancements from that. So the intent is not to provide you the code, but provide a very open platform which you can provide value-added services around the order management solution. So we don't intend to be as a service offering where it's like hands off, you can only touch these 3 things and that's all you do. The intent is to build out the platform, expose the platform with a set of tooling and configuration capabilities so that partners really can work just as you would with Magento, 100% independent of this, and do the same types of innovations with order management that you do in the Magento environment. It's not 100% there, but that's what we're building towards. And the best example of that is the integration platform that we're going to talk about in the later sessions. To the other answer is talk to your channels partner rep. They can get you engaged with us for training, and we've been training partners on kind of how to go out and position and sell the product. And we're now we've started technical workshops, the first that are going to be rolled out in the next 2 or 3 weeks on working with the integration capabilities of the product and configuration abilities of the product. We have a bunch of almost all the implementations we've done with business partners. So if you're interested, but you always work through a business partner, or if you are a business partner, don't shy away if you haven't. We'll supplement your knowledge and help you build that knowledge base up if you have an implementation you need to do quickly. Any other questions? We have time. That's all I have is time. So, all right. Well, look, I really appreciate your attention. I hope you found it informative, and I'm certainly around. I'm around the rest of the show. If you hunt me down, I'd be glad to sit and talk with you more about it. And also, if you want to see examples of it, down in the Solution Center at the Magento booth, there's some folks down there, some big-brained experts that can show you a little bit of the product as well. Okay, thank you.